Hello, it's Jimmy here at Auris. I'm looking at a Toyota Auris here, D4D diesel. So this is a Toyota Auris, if that's how you say it. Auris. Let's have a look at what's going on. Engine management light is on, and apparently it's a DPF issue. Just in the process of setting up my diagnostic machine. Right, place the key near the engine start stop button and press the button with your hand on the smart key. Okay, so we'll just do a full scan of the whole car, see what we have going on. So it looks like already in the engine there's no fault, which is strange. Typical Japanese vehicle again, same as the Hondas. Okay, I'm not sure what seems to be going on, but we don't seem to be getting a very good connection here to this car, so I'm going to try a different scan tool. Okay, so I've got a different scan tool here from AutoFix. Okay, we've got 3 faults here. Any faults anywhere else? No. Let's have a quick look, see what's going on. Particle filter restriction. So we've got just a particle filter restriction and no other codes. So basically there's no reason why the DPF's blocked apart from low mileage, 53,000 miles. It's just been purchased less than a week ago, she said, and the light came on almost immediately after purchase. So unfortunately we're not going to know the full history of the car. What I'm going to assume is on these is the same as the Hondas. If the oil light hasn't been reset, then your DPF will not regenerate. So basically if you're overdue an oil service, your DPF regens will be disabled from the ECU until you reset the oil. So you need to tell the car it's had an oil change. It doesn't work if you just change your oil yourself. You need to reset the oil to make sure that it works. Okay, on live data here we have 4.5 kPa, which is basically 45 millibars of pressure, so that is quite blocked for an engine that is just idling. Hold the revs up at just over 3000 RPM. We have 27 kPa, which is 270 millibars. Okay, so here's a little story on what's been done so far to get this car fixed. She has spoken with the person she bought it off, and they said, okay, bring it back, we'll turn the light off, and it should be okay. Of course, driven down the road, the lights come back on. Now, with the light on, the customer's tried to do a resolution himself, which a lot of people on the internet have told her, just take it down the motorway and drive it in high revs and it will clear. Right, that didn't work. Now, she's also then bought a diesel additive and stuck it in the tank. Now that didn't work either, and I can tell you why the journey down the motorway didn't work and the additive didn't work, because she's got her engine management light on there, and as long as that light's on, you are not going to repair your DPF yourself by driving it. The more you drive it now, the more blocked it's going to get. So increasing the revs is not going to do anything different. It's not going to increase the temperature up to 600 degrees where it needs to be. If you drive your car hard, right, you might get your DPF pressure come from 150 to 200 degrees up to possibly 300, but you're never going to get it up to 650 degrees where it needs to be. So yeah, I heard that story quite a lot. Drive it down the motorway, put it in third gear, it'll just clear itself, it'll fix itself. 99.9% of cars will not do that if you have an engine malfunction light on. It's just not going to happen. You will obviously hear someone say, well, I tried it and my engine light went out. It's a very, very, very rare case, and the chances of it working are almost impossible. Now, if you were to clear this engine light and then drive the car hard, and possibly that might work, but you're not going to work it with just the engine light on and you haven't got a scan tool to clear the engine light. Now, what I will say is this car has driven over an hour and a half to get here. I'm not sure if that's just how that gauge sits there, but it doesn't seem to be very doesn't seem to be directly in the middle there, so I'm going to check the thermostat. Yeah, and my suspicions are right. We are only at 79 degrees. I'm going to take the car for a little bit of a drive. I don't know if they've been parked up anywhere, so I'm going to take the car for a drive around to see if the temperature increases. We need to get that up to, well, it's just increased a little bit there, up to 80, so really ideal temperature, you know, operating temperature is 90 degrees, and most cars won't regen unless you are at operating temperature. But where each manufacturer set that is hard to say. I'd say minimum 80 degrees on most cars, but I'd like to see it at least reaching 85 degrees. Okay, I'm just going to give it a little bit of revs, drive it maybe a mile up the road, see what happens. Okay, so the max temperature reached there was 82 degrees. I'm not really sure if that's good enough. You know, you should see the temperature reach 90 degrees, especially if you're driving it a little bit hard. So I think it possibly may need a thermostat. Okay, here's a little bit into the mix. I've turned off the the heater fans, and at idle now, I've been idling a minute or two there. It's come up to 84 degrees. So I'm going to give it a few revs now, see if the temperature increases or decreases as I rev it. Okay, so that has reached 90 degrees there. Now it is strange because when it was first here and when I took it on a test drive, it was sort of maxing out way below that, but turning the heaters off seemed to have sorted that out. Now obviously, of course, if it's running, I think 80 degrees is probably going to be enough. It's hard to say what Toyota set their limits at, but it's reaching 90 degrees. What I'm going to put this down to is the car is 10 years old. It's done 53,000 miles, and if you check on the MOT history, I've checked it, it's done 4,000 miles I think in the last 4 or 5 years or something. So it's not done a lot of mileage, and it's been sitting on a forecourt for 6 months, and within 5 miles of leaving the forecourt, the DPF lights come on. Now, I'm not sure where the DPF sensor is on this, because I haven't really seen one of these in a while, but it looks like it's right there, is it? Yep, we have the DPF sensor right here, and the one that's going to be for the pressure is going to be usually the furthest away from the electrical plug. So we've got one tube here and another one at this side. I think we're going to remove both of these tubes anyway and just test them with a manometer. So there is a 10mm bolt here holding the sensor in place. We're just going to get that out. A little bit wiggly. Now we can see the two tubes here. Okay, so we've got connection up here to the first hose, and we have 49 millibars of pressure. So it looks like this is the one that needs the cleaning fluid. And then if we check the second hose, we have 2 millibars of pressure. And I'll answer a question here. People say to me, why don't you should use 2 tubes to accurately test the differential pressure. Differential pressure is never more than 2 on the back side, and all I'll do is just deduct that. So if we've got 49 millibars on here, 2 on there, we'll deduct that 2 from this one, so we've got 47 millibars of pressure at the DPF. So that tool is from Auris there, digital manometer if you are looking to get one, and it just shows you how handy it is to use one of those, because I was assuming it was the second hose for the DPF, because both of these hoses are the same size. Normally on cars you'd get one hose is skinny and one hose is a little bit larger in diameter, and that's the one before the DPF, but these are both the same size, so it's hard to tell. Okay, now if you look where that DPF is, it sits higher than the cylinders of the engine, so there's a risk of backfilling into the cylinders. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean the DPF on this with the engine running. Okay, so I've got this filled up with the cleaning fluid here from Launch UK. That's the stuff. Okay, that's connected to my compressor at 130 psi. This is the gun as well from Launch UK. We're going to get that now attached to the DPF hose, just like that. Then we can squeeze the trigger. We'll get that in. We'll hold the trigger squeezed until all of that fluid's gone in there. Engine sounds nice on this. Sounds like a proper diesel. See there, we've got 130 psi pressure. Okay, so that's all attached back on now. You can see there, definitely a dirty DPF. Now we'll get back inside. We'll hold the revs on the car for a couple of minutes, and we'll just keep an eye on the DPF pressure. Okay, we've got about 40 millibars at 3000 RPM. Let it idle down. We have 8 millibars there pressure. Okay, now I've got the engine off. I'm going to go to special functions. We should have some options here to reset the particle matter. Diesel deterioration record clear. I've never heard of that one, but it sounds like that's the one we need. Make sure we haven't got anything else here. Activates DPF rejuvenate. Activate diesel particle filter rejuvenates. Let's go back. We're gonna do deterioration record clear. Ignition is on. Pilot, learning values confirmation, learning values save. Just having a look through. Don't see a lot of Toyota vehicles, so it's a little bit different than others. Now, just in case, I'm going to reset the oil values to 2014. Even though it hasn't been done, I want to make sure that there's nothing that's going to stop this vehicle from regenerating once it leaves. So that's resetting that. That's done. Now, of course, I'm going to recommend that the customer gets their oil changed. I'm just resetting it because these Toyotas, Hondas and Mazda will block your DPF without even telling you a reason why, and it's all because your oil hasn't been reset, like I said before. Okay, now we've cleared the fault codes here. I'll just escape from that now. Okay, so the engine light hasn't cleared and we've got the fault codes back again. So if we come to live data here, probably hasn't reset the particle matter there. We'll have to check the percentage. Yeah, we can see there that it's on 200% still. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. And then clear the codes again. Okay, that's done. So this time I'm going to wait until the ECU shuts down and then we'll restart it. Okay, so again, that hasn't worked. Okay, I just noticed something on the launch here. I didn't disconnect it from the last Honda I was working on, and I think that's why we weren't getting a connection earlier. I think it may be my fault. Let's try that again. Yeah, so I think what I'd done last time is I just came on and the operating system was already logged on. Probably wasn't paying attention, but yeah, we can see we've got a totally different setup here. We had the Honda system still online last time. Really silly of me there to do that. Okay, hopefully the launch can come back to the rescue. Let's go to service function, see what we have. Yeah, so I noticed before down here it said Honda. I wasn't taking notice. Okay, so we have the same option here. Let's try and do that on the launch and hopefully this will work. So just running back through a scan here with the launch. P2463 code, and yeah, we've got the P2463s again. Right, let's try clear them this time. Yes, that has worked. Sorry my launch, I did doubt you at the start, but it turns out it was my own fault. Now you see the importance of having two tools. This is a brilliant little tool as well to have as a second tool, and it does do the job in some cases where another one can't, and vice versa. You'll need your launch where this doesn't do resets like we've just shown, and in certain cases my launch may not connect to a certain vehicle and the Autel will, or the AutoFix. So it's always handy to have two tools. People ask me that question every day, what's the best tool to have? It really depends on the car you're plugging it into, and I won't be able to answer that question without plugging the tool in and spending an hour going through the car like I've done with both of these tools. So that's it. Toyota Auris is all done, and I've got a couple of Mercedes now to look at next, and I'll see you on our next video.